You know that feeling, right? A single comment can just completely ruin your day, maybe even derail your big goals. Well, today, we're going to dismantle that fear of what other people think. We're going to figure out exactly why their words sting so much, and more importantly, how you can take back control, piece by piece. So let's get into it.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That sharp comment from a coworker or a passive-aggressive remark from a family member. Why does that stuff hit so hard? How can just a few words completely throw off your entire day, or even make you second-guess your ambitions? It really feels like they hold all the cards. But here's the secret. They don't.
You know, our intense reaction to criticism isn't some kind of personal flaw. It's actually a feature of being human. It's wired deep into us from this primal fear of rejection. I mean, think about it. Back in the tribal days, getting pushed out of the group was basically a death sentence. And that fear, it's still hanging around. But the real power isn't in what they say. It's all happening inside our own minds.
This right here is the absolute core idea. The power isn't in the words someone throws at you, it's in the meaning that you give them. It's all about how that information filters through your own life, your own experiences, your insecurities. At the end of the day, you're the one who decides how heavy those words are.
So, okay, if the problem is how we register the criticism, then it stands to reason that the solution has to be in our reaction. This is exactly where we start to take our power back. It's all about shifting the focus from trying to control what other people say, which, let's be honest, is impossible, to mastering how we respond.
Let's really try to separate these two things, because they are totally different. You've got the external event, the actual words someone says, and then you have your internal process. That's the story you tell yourself about those words. The pain, the sting, it never comes from the event itself. It always comes from your internal process. We get hurt when we forget that they aren't the same thing.
Just let that sink in for a second. This is really the ultimate truth when it comes to emotional freedom. The offense isn't some kind of weapon that somebody launches at you. No, it's a choice you make inside your own head. You, and only you, hold the keys to your own emotional state. Let's just apply some simple, cold, hard logic here. If a criticism is true, let's say you're bald, and someone says, "Hey, you're bald." Well, that's just a fact. Why be offended by a fact? On the other hand, if the criticism is false, someone calls you a name that is just totally untrue, well, then it's a lie. Why would you give any power to a lie? So you see, in either case, choosing to feel offended is exactly that, a choice. Okay, so now that we've got the right mindset, let's get practical. Here is a framework you can use to analyze any criticism that comes your way. So instead of just taking the hit, you can look at it through one of 3 different lenses to figure out what's really going on. So the first lens, and honestly, this is usually the most painful one, is when the criticism feels like it's about you as a person. It feels like an attack on your character, your identity. You know, when someone calls you incompetent or selfish, that stuff cuts deep because it's aimed right at your sense of self-worth. Now, the second lens is about what you do. This is different. This is when someone criticizes your work on a report or says your presentation was a little disorganized. See, this isn't an attack on your character. It's feedback on a specific thing you did. Learning to separate what I did from who I am, that's a huge step.
And then we have the third lens, and let me tell you, this one is the real game changer. This is the moment you realize the criticism might not be about you at all, or even about what you did. It's actually about the impact your actions are having on the person doing the criticism. It's because you're forcing them to change, and they are not happy about it. This brings us to what I think is the big aha moment in all of this. Once you really, truly grasp that most of the negative feedback you get has almost nothing to do with you, everything changes.
That's right. The person criticizing you probably isn't trying to help you. They're not actually worried about your well-being. What they're really trying to do is protect their own comfort. Your growth, your big change, your new direction, it creates a ripple that disrupts their life, and frankly, they just don't like it. This example just makes it so crystal clear. Imagine someone tells you you're a thankless child just because you want to move away. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a nasty attack on your character, right? But what's actually happening? The real reason is they are terrified of the impact your move is going to have on them. The criticism is just a smokescreen for their own fear.
You should burn this quote into your brain for the next time you're facing a harsh critic. They are almost always focused on themselves. They aren't trying to protect you, they're just trying to protect their own comfortable little world. So, you get the psychology, you can see the critic's real motive. What now?
How do you actually put this into practice? Well, this final section is all about giving you a seriously powerful tool to take complete control in these situations.
Here it is. This is your new rule. Starting today, you no longer have to listen, accept, or be affected by what we'll call incomplete criticism. You're about to set a brand new standard for the kind of feedback you even allow into your life.
And that new standard is what's called a complete critique. This is the only form of feedback that actually deserves your time and attention. It's a pretty slick method that shifts the burden of proof from you, the one receiving it, back to them, the one giving it. It basically forces them to stop just complaining and start being constructive.
A complete critique needs 3 things. So when someone gives you criticism, you just calmly ask them for clarity on these 3 points. First, what's your positive intention here? This makes them admit they're trying to help. Second, what specific outcome are you hoping for? This makes them define what success looks like. And third, the big one, what specific suggestion do you have for me? This requires a solution, not just a complaint. See, you're not being defensive, you're just demanding that they be constructive.
And this is where the magic happens. Because if they can't answer those 3 simple questions, then their criticism is incomplete. It's invalid. It's just noise. And you haven't rejected them. They've simply failed to meet the basic standard for feedback that's even worth hearing. You've handed the problem right back to them.
So I'll just leave you with this question. Just imagine it for a minute. What project would you finally start? What big decision would you make? What kind of life would you build for yourself if the fear of what other people might think was just gone? That freedom is right there, ready for you to take it.